So hi again, in this video I'm going to be focusing on the website. So this React JS application that renders the charts and crash list. So it gets all the data from the web service that we just saw in the previous video, and just well, using that data it renders the charts, shows the list of the exceptions, and so on. So as usually, this project can be found on a GitHub at ArtemKV Kaboom website, and I just want to go and quickly look inside of this project just to give you the idea what it is. So if you look at the package JSON, we see that we have here a couple of npm scripts. So this project is a React.js application built using Webpack. So I have, for example, the start npm script that just runs the does the build and runs Webpack dev server with the hot module replacement, which allows me to do the small changes in the code and immediately see how my site rendering changes on the fly. So I have here a couple of Webpack configuration files. I have the Webpack common.js. So this is the most interesting part. There is most of the rules defined for how I bundle the JavaScript and CSS, and I have a couple of small files for just distinguish development mode and production mode. So I use them. I use those different config files when I build development or version or production version. So in the public folder I have here index.html. And that index.html is my root, well, that's my single page of my single page React.js application. And under the source folder, we have the code of my application. So I have index.js file that basically the root component of my application. So when it's initially it renders the spinner, it's just a thing that just well, like spins when you haven't loaded anything. Once you call Kaboom start global function, you get the application rendered. So this global Kaboom start is the only thing I put in the global namespace. Why do I do it? Is just basically necessity, because so I'm using the Google library, the Google JavaScript library, to render the Google sign-in button, and that unfortunately doesn't use modules. So it just it still uses the global namespace to do all of the things. So I'm here. I'm doing like simple trick. I'm just based on documentation from Google. I'm listening for the onload event like this on the URL, and when the Google library is fully loaded, it will call my startup function, and that startup function will call the Kaboom start function that is in the global namespace. And that will basically trigger the whole rendering of my React.js application. So what is this? So this application. So I have this bunch of components here, and the root one is the app.js. So what we have here is basically React components, and the most interesting thing is that when we logged in, we render application code, unique user stats, crash stats, and so on. So all of those are small components. Typically, how to do it in React.js. So if you go, for example, in crash stats, we see that's also React components. And one of the things it does, it's when it mounts, we call load data method. And on a load data, so what we do, we basically call API get crash stats. So if we look at the API module, so this one is basically it defines the URL where we go for the data. This is the URL of my web service that I shown before, and it has two helper methods, getJSON and postJSON, and we have methods for every endpoint that we have on the web service. So this is basically a wrapper around the REST API endpoints provided by the web service. And this method allows us easily call or easily do those REST API calls to retrieve the data. And once the data is retrieved, well, I'm basically save it on a state, and then I can use that to render the statistics. So for example, here we have well, the HTML that renders the charts for crashes. And when we have data, we go in and render this component starts chart. Starts chart, and that's yeah. So that uses the chart.js, and the chart.js, I think that's external library that I'm using. So yeah, so I'm using the chart.js to render all the charts. So that's basically the well, that's all to be said about this project. Yeah, so this allows us to have this single page application that just goes for the data to the web service that we've shown before. And that concludes this video, and hopefully see you next time, and bye.